Hello there, my name is Dee Mann and I'm the Student Placement Manager here at ACAP. And this video is to introduce you to student placement. And we're going to show you this video quite early in your course here at ACAP because there are some things that you need to understand about student placement and some actions that you need to start taking quite early in your course to make it as easy as possible for you to get a great student placement when you arrive in your final year of study. So I'm going to share a PowerPoint presentation with you now. All right, so I guess one of the key questions that most students ask us is, well, why do we do student placements? The student placement is the culmination of all of your training to be a counsellor. So you're going to spend a lot of time learning the skills that you need and learning a lot about the industry and the theory that underpins counselling. And you're going to practice that with your student colleagues in the classroom, and then you're going to do your placement, and that's where you actually get to start putting everything you've learned into practice with clients while you're on placement. It's your opportunity to start to apply the theory that you've been learning. By the time you get here, you will know a lot about counselling, but now is the time when you get to practice. It's an opportunity for you to network within the industry. This is so important. It's quite extraordinary just how many of our students here at ACAP get their jobs either in their placement agency or through a connection that they made while they were on placement. The other thing that happens is the person who supervises you while you're on placement can become your referee, so that you have a professional referee in the industry when you're applying for jobs, which makes an enormous difference. It helps you to clarify your career options. Now, many of you will already have an idea of the kind of counselling work you want to do when you graduate. You might think, well, I'd really love to be working with children, or I'd really love to be working with women, or I'd love to work in a clinic, or whatever it may be for you. This is your opportunity to try it out. So we really encourage you to think about doing your placement in one of those agencies so you can find out if it is for you or not. It's an opportunity for your personal and your professional development. You may have heard when you first chose ACAP that our course is not just an education course for counsellors. It's a transformational course. So the person you are when you first start studying, and then the person that you are at the end of your studies, having completed all the theory and your placement, is not the same. You have gone through a transformational process and you've become a counsellor in that time. That's what placement gives you, an opportunity to really solidly put that into practice. You get to experience supervision. Now, you hear the word supervision at the moment and you may think, well, I know what supervision is. I have that in my job, or I've had it in another volunteering capacity. This is quite different supervision. This is known as clinical supervision. And you get to experience both clinical supervision and the placement supervision that you have with your supervisor on placement while you're in that supportive learning environment. And you get to build your professional confidence. Many of you will be at the stage where you have good skills. You don't know, you're not confident about whether or not you're going to be great with clients. By the end of your placement, you will be. So when do you do your student placement? All students will do this in your final year of study. I can't tell you exactly when that will be because all of you study at different rates. Some of you are part-time doing 1 unit a term. Others are doing 2 units a term, and others are full-time with 3 units a term. So you'll do your placement in your final year. Now, this information on this slide, you don't have to remember it or take notes because it's all available for you in the ACAP online placement management system, and we call that Sonia Online. So you can log in there and you'll find exactly this information available. So you don't need to take notes right now, but you do need to think about some of this. So there is a prerequisite for the Bachelor of Counselling or Counselling Coaching. It's you must complete a minimum of 16 units before you apply for placement. Now, the prerequisite unit is advanced counselling skills, so please follow the course sequence. Don't pick and grab things out of sequence. It doesn't work as well as just following the course sequence does. Do whatever unit is next for you. That way you will do advanced counselling skills, and when you get to placement, that will be already handled. Social, legal and ethical frameworks, by the time you get to placement, I think that will be a prerequisite. It's in the process at the moment, but we really wouldn't want anyone going out on placement who hasn't done or doesn't understand the social, legal and ethical framework for the placement. The other one we really encourage you to do, it's so important that you understand when you get to placement, is mental health policy and practice. And counselling theories too. This is advanced counselling training. And applied social research. This is a unit that you need to do before you can do project. And project is a unit that you do on placement. Therefore, get all of these units done before you apply for placement and you'll be so well set up. Graduate Diploma of Counselling, you need to do all of your first year units and counselling skills and models before you apply for placement. Master's students, you need to do all of your first year units and counselling and psychotherapy research before you apply for placement. Now, those electives that are listed at the bottom apply to everybody, and the reason we suggest these is because so many of our student placements will not accept you for placement unless you've done these units. So it's really important that you do as many of these as you possibly can. So group work or group work theory and practice, crucial to most of our placements. Alcohol and other drugs, absolutely important for many placements. And mental health, which we've already listed for the bachelor, but other courses you're also encouraged to do the mental health unit. And you won't be eligible for some placements without that. Okay, so what are the placement requirements? We're going to go through these one at a time. The first one is that you are going to be doing just one counselling placement. And that counselling placement is going to sit across the top of 2 ACAP trimesters. So there's 2 units that you do while you're in placement, but you only do one placement. That can be quite confusing for students at times. You're going to do something between 200 and 250 hours, depending on your course requirements, which we'll put up in just a moment, but that is a minimum. And most of our students do far more. Many students graduate with 500, 600 hours. This is so beneficial for you because when you're finished and you're applying for jobs, you'll find that there are students who apply who only have the bare minimum. And here's your resume, and you've got triple the amount of experience, or at least double that some of those other students do. That just moves you straight up to the top of the pile when they're considering a new graduate for employment. So it's great to do as many hours as you can. Now you can do placement you must do at least 1 day a week. Many of our placements are 2 days a week, so you have to do 2 days a week. And some students who have finished all their units and they're not doing anything else do even more. But you can't finish a placement early. So you have a look at your setup at the moment, at your family responsibilities, your work responsibilities, and your study responsibilities, and ask yourself, how am I going to prepare to have at least 1 day a week in placement in my final year of study? Because that's what's going to need to happen. So start thinking about how you're going to set everything up so that you can do that. Now, very rarely do we find a placement that's available on a Saturday. They're very rare, and I don't encourage you to think you'll be able to find one, because even if you found an agency who would take you on a Saturday, the key people who you need to learn and develop and grow from don't work on Saturdays. So you might get to do something, but it won't be anywhere near as developmentally sound for you as being able to be in placement 1 day a week. So have a think about how you're going to work that out. Okay, you can do your placement in your workplace provided that it's a suitable workplace, okay? That means you need to be able to do counselling there. Some workplaces already have counselling services. Those ones are really easy. Others are in the welfare or community services or related industries. Maybe you're doing casework or something like that. Your agency doesn't usually offer counselling, but mostly that's because there isn't a counsellor there. So sometimes we can work with those agencies to see if we can introduce counselling there for you to offer your clients. So talk to us about it and we'll have a look at what we can do with your particular workplace. Now, the placement must extend across 2 ACAP trimesters. Now, that adds up to 7 to 9 months, even if you do 2 days a week. Now, some MCP students only will have credit for one of those units, so they can do 1 term. Everybody else, you're doing 2 terms, and you're going to start the placement before first term, and you're going to finish before your first term. It doesn't matter which term it is, you're going to start before the term starts. And the reason is so that you can settle in and you can learn how things work, you can get your training completed, whatever you need to do in that placement. All that happens before term starts. And then for some of you, you are going to continue after the second term finishes because you're still getting your hours, okay? So 7 to 9 months is the period of that placement, and you need to be on placement 1 day a week for that entire period. Okay, now if you do 2 days a week, that doesn't mean you finish twice as quick. The reason for that is your clinical supervision. You need to be in clinical supervision 1, and then you need to complete clinical supervision 2. And every week in clinical supervision, you bring client work from your placement to your clinical supervisor. That's why you have to be in placement. There's no choice about that. Now, your placement will include a minimum of 40 to 80 hours of counselling. Counselling, there's different activities that we say count for counselling hours. Now, all that information is in Sonia online. It's a bit complicated. I'm not going to go into it here. And you don't need to know just yet, but you will need to know closer. And at that point, go into Sonia and read all about what is counted as counselling hours and what isn't counted as counselling hours. So the rest of the time that you spend on your placement is called your general hours, and these all count. Every minute that you're in the placement organisation is counted, but it's counted in a separate log called general hours. So this is what the hours are for your course. I'll let you have a look there. Now, coaching students, you need to listen to this part. The International Coaching Federation is in the process of assessing our course for coaching students, and the International Coaching Federation does not require students to do a placement. So you will not be doing a coaching placement as part of your course. Now, your course is also accredited by PACFA, the Psychotherapy and Counselling Federation of Australia. PACFA do require that you do a student placement. So your student placement here at ACAP is a counselling student placement. It's exactly the same as the Bachelor of Counselling students will be doing. So everything that I say about Bachelor of Counselling or that you read applies to you. Now, your coaching is going to be looked after in class, and you will be coaching each other and working with one of our master coaches in class. So you do get to practice a lot of coaching, and you have to do a video and all sorts of things, but you do not do a coaching student placement. You should, however, think about volunteering in a coaching organisation, and we've got some information about that. So what are the placement requirements? You need to be enrolled in the Placement and Supervision 1 and 2 units. Now, they all have different names, as you can see down the bottom there. So we just call them Placement 1 and Placement 2, the supervision units. Now, these should be in consecutive terms. You do the first unit and then you do the second unit. And remember, that's because the placement is taking place across both of those. You need to commence placement 4 to 6 weeks before term, and that's for the reasons that I've told you before. So you're all settled in and you know what you're doing and you started working with clients by the time you start your clinical supervision unit. So in the Bachelor of Counselling, your clinical supervision unit is called Counselling, Placement and Supervision 1 and 2. Same with Bachelor of BCoun Coach. Now, these are a bit confusing. Your first one, Counselling Placement 1, that's exactly the same as Bachelor of Counselling. The second one is called coaching practice. Okay, now that's a bit misleading because it sounds like you would be in a coaching placement and you're not. You continue in your counselling placement, you continue in your clinical supervision in that unit, and as well as that, you do some work with a master coach in the classroom. I know that's confusing, but don't worry, it'll get clearer when you read about it on Sonia. Graduate diplomas, you're going to do fieldwork placement and supervision 1 and 2, and masters, you're going to do the advanced placement supervision 1 and 2. So this is a very important question. What can't you do on placement? You can't do your placement in Lifeline or in a similar phone-based telephone-only, in a similar telephone-only service. Okay, now the reason is that PACFA doesn't accredit telephone-based counselling work for the purposes of your training course. Now, having said that, I cannot encourage you more than to take up a Lifeline training course and to become a Lifeline counsellor. It is the best counselling training. You get to deal with situations you can't even imagine now. You develop such strong counselling skills under really good supervision. So if you can make it work to inquire and start Lifeline training and become a Lifeline counsellor, you are giving yourself the best possible chance of placement, because our placement agencies love students who've done Lifeline training, and a job. The industry loves Lifeline training. So think about that quite seriously, but you can't do it for your student placement. Under 18s, so PACFA once again wants your counselling work to be with over 18s. Now, there are a couple of exceptions. There's a couple of high schools that have a very formal counselling program that's supervised by a qualified and suitable counsellor. So there's a couple of exceptions, but you can't just go to your local high school and ask them if you can do your placement there. No, only in the already approved high schools that ACAP advertises. You can't do your placement in an agency that won't let you do counselling, because what would be the point of that? And you can't do a placement that's shorter than 2 terms. Now, there are a couple of rare exceptions. You need to call us about that if you're thinking you want to do placement less than 2 terms, because basically you can't, but there are a couple of exceptions. Now, Sonia Online. So this is the student placement management system here at ACAP. It has all of your placement information in there. So you're going to be emailed the link so you can get into Sonia Online at a particular time in your course. We don't give it to you straight away because you've got enough to deal with, being a new student, settling into your course, learning about how to write an assignment, how to do all of that. So we don't give it to you straight away because you don't need to. It's at the end of your course, so we give it to you at the right time. For undergraduates in our bachelor level courses, you're going to get an email when you enrol into your 8th unit. And that email will say, it's time to start thinking about placement, please log into Sonia. Postgraduates, your course is much shorter, so you're going to get your email when you enrol into your 3rd unit, so in your 2nd term probably. And it'll be the same, it'll say you need to log into Sonia and start reading about placement. So we're going to give it to you early enough, as you can hear, in your course so that you are well informed and you're prepared for placement when you get to your final year. This is what Sonia Online looks like. This is the landing page when you first log in, and you can see that there's information for students, information for the agency supervisors, and information for our mid-placement reviewers. These are some of our educators who will do your mid-placement review when you're on placement. Now, this is, when you get further into Sonia, this is how we've set it up, and we've done it for a very specific reason. It starts at step 1 and it goes right through until step 8. Now, it's done that way because every one of those steps is incredibly important. So please don't think, oh, I'll just skip over those and get to the one where I can look for placements. Don't start looking for placements until you've completed every step. Because the first thing that will happen is you'll get a question and someone will say, what about this? And you'll have to say, I don't know the answer to that. We don't want that to happen. We want you to be fully ready for placement. The other thing is you must have a professional resume prepared. And we give you lots of guidelines back in the earlier steps about how to prepare a professional resume and a professional cover letter. It's very important that you take a look at your resume, take a look at the sample resume that we give you, and have a look and see, is mine along these lines? The most important thing for you if you're changing industry is, for example, you want to come from accounting or teaching or any other industry and you're moving into the counselling industry, you have to highlight in your resume what the skills are that you already have that you're bringing with you in that transition. Now, the sample resume shows you how to do that using accomplishments. So please read it carefully and make sure your resume has accomplishments listed. Then after you've done everything else, you will get to step 7, which is where you can access the ACAP placement agency information. That's a big database. There's well over 600 agencies on there. Now, one thing I do need you to know is when you get to that, there's information there that you need to read carefully. Now, you'll see another link there on the page that says available placement opportunities. That's where we put our hot opportunities. So we get contacts all the time from agencies who are looking for students. And we also have placement partnerships with agencies where we do their placement recruitment for them. And we put at least 80 students a term into placements that they've applied for through us. Sorry about that. So please keep that in mind. Now, so you'll be linking on there and you'll be reading about the hot placement opportunities. The main thing for you to know at the moment is about volunteering. So volunteering is definitely the key to a successful placement. There's no doubt about that. Volunteer in an agency where you would really love to work, because chances are you may be able to get a job in your volunteering agency. So therefore, make sure that the agency does counselling or similar work there so you get the best experience. And this will put you in the best position to request your placement happen there in that agency. And then you'll get to build your professional network and open up possible placement opportunities in other agencies. And it looks so good on your resume when you've been doing volunteering. Placement agencies prefer students who have volunteer experience by far. So please get cracking with some volunteering. Okay. The placement staff contacts, now they're listed here for you, but they're also available on the ACAP website. You'll find them there under current student information. So you all have different contacts in different states, but overall, if you have a question about placement, your number one contact about preparing for placement is Anita Cross. Anita is the placement officer, and she can answer all of your preparation questions. You can find her on this phone number, or you can find her on the ACAP website. Now, please read the Sonia information first, okay? We can't start at the beginning and take you through everything about placement. You really need to read the information first. And if there's a question that you can't answer after you've read all the information, then Anita will definitely be able to help you. So I'd like to wish you all the very best for your student placement. It's a very exciting time. And by doing the steps that we've outlined here and by reading all the Sonia information, you will find a great placement for yourself. So good luck, and we'll see you in your final year.